Now, let's talk about
Yeah.
the UK, where we are seeing some extraordinary polling numbers showing that Nigel Farage's reform is ahead now of the Tories in every major national poll. And reform is also ahead of Labor in the latest YouGov poll. Will Nigel Farage be the UK's Donald Trump? You could argue he's already achieved that with his role in Brexit, but can you see him as a future Prime Minister?
We'll see. I mean, it's a fascinating situation. Reform is really a very new political party, and it has already overtaken in the polls the most successful and oldest political party in the UK, the Conservative Party. It's an extraordinary set of events. I think there's a demonstration here of a number of things. The first is the inept manner in which the Labour Party is trying to govern the UK. They've done absolutely nothing to improve living standards or indeed Britain's reputation domestically or abroad since coming into office. It's inevitable that a lot of people notice that and would like a protest vote. The interesting thing for Nigel Farage and reform is whether they can be more than a protest vote. And that'll depend to a great extent on who Farage surrounds himself with as the party grows. It's a very important but perilous moment in politics when a party grows very fast like this. Because inevitably what needs to happen is there needs to be a big support structure around that party. But yes, there's, of course, 4 years, more than 4 years to go until an election has to be called in the UK. But it's exciting. I mean, yes, as you say, there's a sort of insurgency feel similar to that led to the election of Donald Trump. And I think people will be looking for anyone who can show how they can be better governed, because it's hard to see how they could be worse governed.
You wrote about the Labor boasting about Britain's soft power. Why, why are they doing that? What is there to be achieved by boasting about soft power? Surely if you have it, you don't need to be bragging about it.
Yes, that's one of the things I pointed out. If you go around saying, look at my soft power, hear me roar, it's a slightly embarrassing situation to be in. David Lammy, the great genius who is the British Foreign Secretary, has set up a soft power committee. I mean, as you know, Rita, there's no major issue that can't be improved by setting up a committee of third-rate quangocrats. And they're apparently looking into the importance of British soft power, which they think is underutilized. I think that countries, broadly speaking, talk about soft power when when their hard power has effectively wilted. And not only, as I pointed out, has Britain's hard power wilted, its soft power has wilted as well, because much of the money and foreign aid and much more that the British taxpayer doles around the globe doesn't actually go to sort of soft power initiatives, and it doesn't go to productions of Shakespeare plays in Swaziland. It goes to funding bananas sort of gender woo-woo stuff in South America, or looking into the prevalence of racism in Brazil. And I'm not kidding. Those are the sort of things that British foreign aid has gone to pay for in recent years. So yes, I don't think there's much that can be gained by David Lammy's initiative, if you can call it that. But I also think that it's very interesting to watch when countries, and this is another thing the Trump administration has been looking into with USAID, when countries end up splurging money around the globe, and the money they're splurging actually is on projects which to a significant extent are against the people who are funding the projects, you're in trouble. And that's to a great extent where British foreign aid funding goes. Sometimes it goes to countries with regions that are richer than regions of the United Kingdom. And I think that's ridiculous. So I wish that David Lammy would apply his hard thinking to somewhat harder question.
Douglas, one of the underreported reasons for Donald Trump's big win was his vow to clean up institutions like the FBI to tackle the lawfare, the two-tier justice system we've spoken about so often on this program. And we got a further insight into just how deep-rooted these issues are with the revelations this week that the FBI had assigned more than 5,000 employees to January 6 investigations. There are only around 13,000 FBI agents, 38,000 FBI employees in total. Douglas, this goes further than the FBI. It's evident that Trump 2.0 bears only a passing resemblance to Trump 1.0. He is going scorched earth in cleaning up the bureaucracy, and it's seen really as a critical move to achieve every other objective.
I think that's right. I think that it's been striking in the opening days and now weeks of Trump 2.0 that there is a sort of seriousness of intent and also of carrying out that intent. You're right, Rita. I mean, there are institutions after institution in the US, as in all of our countries, that have become bloated, politicized, and much more. And it seems clear that Trump this time round is really not only intent on changing that, but seems to know how to do so. But revelations like this about the FBI, I mean, really should surprise no one. One of the reasons why Trump spoke in recent years to such an enormous number of the American people was they saw the way in which institutions had become politicized. Now, I mean, many of us don't want them to be politicized from any angle. But if a sort of Republican administration set thousands of FBI agents against their political opponents, it would be as objectionable as the Democrats doing that to Republicans. And, we know the number of people who were, thrown into jail for standing in Washington on January the 6th and were not the people who did anything of the breaking in and so on. And this was, of course, an example of the Democrats seizing a gift that they felt was given to them, seizing that gift and just running with it and politicizing it. And, if that can stop and federal agencies can actually get down to doing their jobs, then anything could change. And the best thing about it is that if Donald Trump shows that that is possible in America, maybe even the Albanese government, the Starmer government, and others, or whoever replaces them, might realize that it's possible in our countries too.
Absolutely. That permanent bureaucracy, unelected bureaucracy cannot be unaccountable. And I think finally in the US, we are seeing a small reckoning happening in that area. Douglas Murray, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Great to see you as ever, Rita.